So I'm really wondering your thoughts on, how do we as adults sort of balance our roles where we're trying to be those co-regulators for the little people. We're trying to lend them our calm, as you say, and we're trying to help others through and recognizing our own stress and taking those actions, like recognizing how hard on us constant feed in the media are and so on, and taking those sort of actions. But also with this whole other side that one of the nice things I see that's happening is it feels like we're living in a very active, from a democratic kind of perspective. People are organizing, they're standing up, all kinds of campaigns are underway in different ways to stand up for the things that people believe in and trying to influence genuine change in a number of ways. And it's not new to right now, but it feels to me that there's this momentum that's happening around that is very positive. How do we do that? How do we be the one that lends the calm, and helps others and still find that balance where we need to stand up for the things that we believe and do the right thing and teach the young people around us to do the same?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, I think when I think about what I'm experiencing with just the stressors of the constant messaging and the constant messaging that it feels like it's intentionally trying to attack your limbic system, right? Like really trying to just constantly keep you in a heightened state of arousal or state of fear over what possibly could happen. Really trying to work on recognizing, what that is a stressor for me, and how do I reduce it? Well, I might just have to turn the television off or stop listening to certain radio programs, or maybe take that little thing that keeps sliding in on my computer screen about breaking news. It's like every 5 minutes there's breaking news. But I also feel that there's a stressor in the pro-social domain of the feelings of injustice, and that when it's sort of this dissonance of, okay, so if I sit back and I try to make myself calm and reduce stressors in other places in my life, this feeling of, and I'm putting this in my pro-social domain because it really, I'm just really, I think, starting to understand that piece of the Self-Reg framework a little bit better, but those feelings of injustice need to be addressed, right? And for me, and for, I know many of my colleagues that I talk to, it's sort of picking an issue, picking a place where we think we can have an impact and trying to stay focused and not getting caught up in the anger or the fear but really just trying to say, okay, so this is an issue that's important to me. Education, free and appropriate education for children with disabilities in this least restrictive environment, right? How am I going to have an impact? And really trying to focus myself in a calm, thoughtful way about what I can do. But really not let myself get scattered. Because, there's a million different, like you said, I could do a lot of different marches and a lot of different postcard signing parties and, going to bang on doors of congressmen that don't come to their town hall meetings. I mean, you could really be doing something every single day, and there are people that are doing something every single day, but I'm not sure how we maintain a good balance in terms of our mental health and do all that. I think there's a balance that we have to strike.
I love the way that you share that, and I think it's really interesting to have brought in the pro-social domain. I think you're completely right. I mean, we know there's stressors in all of the domains that the biological one. There's many things that are happening, just the physical stresses and things that can be as simple as related to not sleeping well and diet, nutrition, these sorts of things that go out the window and, get you in a spiral there. The emotions where, really strong emotions be very upsetting, and that uses up our energy. And, that's another area. But the pro-social one is a real important one. And I like that you brought that in, because it tells us to, in my mind anyway, from a self-reg lens, to switch the focus from the external event, okay? And I'll get back to the external event. I'm not saying to throw that out, but from a self-reg lens, it's not about the external event, be it, an election, or be it what's in the news today, and there is a constant breaking news every day, or it's to the experience of the event, and that's individual for each one of us, right? And how that impacts on our stress systems and our energy, and just being really that energy focused. Because pro-social is, you're absolutely right, there is that whole sense of, I mean, we know that feeling empathy. When you and I are talking, you're telling me the story earlier about the little guy under the desk.
Mm-hmm.
I live that, and that from a self-reg lens, we look at, it's not trying to teach me to live that. I live that in recognizing that's hard on my energy reserves.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing. I love it about me, but
Mm-hmm.
totally, that's why when we go and we spend a day in a community or a school or that's really struggling, at the end of the day we've got very little left.
Yes,
Because,
right.
and just to be kind to ourselves around that. But this sense of injustice too, I mean, that is absolutely a part of the pro-social, right? And but the thing about looking at it through a self-reg lens, and even the way you framed it about picking where you're going to put your energy, is that the other thing you can look at is to consider that, okay, I find it a stressor. I told you, I think that I find being in limbo, I find limbo a really uncomfortable place. I think everybody does, but for me, it just really is excruciating. I'm one of those people that if I get knocked, things go really wrong, I'm okay, because I know it, I can take action, but not being able to act is a very painful piece for me, actually. And so I feel a need, that's a stressor. So I feel a need to take action, right? But I think that we all, I mean, when we look at the examples even from history, when things have really shifted, it's when a whole lot of people do a little bit, and contribute, and and I do think we can make a lot of, I think that's the way to go, not to be, because once you're all consumed too with it, there's very little less left over for your families and your yourself, and the work that we do, and the everyday things that are equally as important a part of the solution, right? Like if we could all work, you can almost imagine like a cyclone. You can get so swept up in it.
Yeah, you do. And then trying to engage people in conversations in a calm, regulating tone, like putting yourself, and where we live here in this part of New Jersey is pretty liberal, pretty progressive. We're at a university, so but certainly I know lots of people, even within my own family, who have very different views. And initially, I really was struggling with being able to even have conversations, because I was so just angry and scared and sad, and but really trying to find my voice and my tone of voice to have conversations and not back away from conversations. Because that's the other thing. It's like, I'm just going to go hang with the people who talk and think and do what I do, right? But how are we ever going to change anything if we don't engage in conversations in ways that people will listen? And that, I think, is the hard piece, is if we just engage with people in ways that are so divisive, then I put up walls, they put up walls, we just don't hear each other. So I think that self-calming and co-regulating into those conversations is challenging but necessary. And I have to admit, I'm still in the process of figuring that out.
I am too. I mean, it's not just you, it's here as well. And, there's another pro-social layer to this, that when we don't, this is pro-social domain, but there's also that time that if you're feeling, deeply empathetic, and you're and also have that sense of justice, and you didn't say things in moments, that comes back to be can be a ruminating thought that you felt like you should have and you didn't, and that's an energy zapper too. It's a hard one, because, and I'll tell you, I think that we do need to have these conversations, and I think that I've always found it very easy to look at a child, no matter what they did, and wild teenagers, no matter what they did. And also, to be honest with you, marginalized, like people, families that were really struggling. I could see those parents. I saw them naturally with soft eyes. Self-reg just gave me some of the science to understand.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been certain times in my life that I found someone with a really rigid belief system that, like, I'm not like my self-reg goes out the window, and I
definitely.
there is no doubt. I don't think I'm going to need to tell anybody which side of the fence I kind of stand on politically, and what I would have, that the outcome of what's happened in the United States in terms of who your government has ended up is certainly not the one that I would have voted for had I had a voice in it at all.
Right, right.
But I have to say, I also have family here. Same situation you do. I have an uncle who I love, who we have over the years had very different views on our government here, but also some of the policies that some of the ones I know you've mentioned, some of the things you like about Canada. Well, my uncle saw things very, very differently, and I have friends now who I've known people, who have said, we run across it all the time, who are quietly kind of enjoying seeing what's happening. And I think the only thing I can say is one of the things I work on, and this is so much easier said than done, right? And it's easy for me as the person removed, is try to remember where's that common ground, because in each of those cases, my own uncle, he's a very good person. He wants a healthy place for his grandkids to grow up. He wants the best for his country. He wants the best for the world. Like, he is not, and he's also a very smart man. It's not there, I can't equate any of those things with, he's coming from a different belief system. He's seeing different things than I'm seeing. And I think if we don't find the way, I think one of the best gifts we can give back is to be able to listen, not to be able to try to, bang people over that, because you're not going to convince people to switch their political views, not easily, right? But I think just by listening and being open and recognizing that, okay, in a way, we're kind of all on the same team here, and we're just maybe believe in how to go about it in very different ways, and there's and that when we see that those people with the same soft eyes, and lend them our calm, right? Do all of those same sort of things, and recognize that we can't make other people see things differently. That's just not how the human brain, or it's just not how things work, and it's not how change happens either.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Not easy, but definitely a strategy we have to employ for sure.
And it sounds kind of fluffy, but I think at the very least, a person, you can recognize, I'm in a moment, before you get caught up in in making it, that in a moment, okay, I'm totally dysregulated here.
Right.
This person believes something very different, and I think that's going to harm children and families in my country or whatever it is. But I'm feeling totally dysregulated. And if you can stay in that moment, great. But if not, you just, I think it's okay to not. It's like almost picking your moments, right?
Right. Right. And picking the topics that you want. We can't talk about them all, because there's so many topics that are tied up in this. It's not just education or just healthcare or just, closing our borders. It's
everything.
It's everything.
Your neighbors. I know.
So,
and it's not just you guys. The UK is going through a terrible time.
Yeah.
And it's impacting the whole world. That Australia has had many of its own similar things. So
yeah, it is.
So if you're going to leave us with some wise words, and to sort of take away from our chat today, to whichever audience you want to sort of focus on, what would be some leaving thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
I guess coming sort of back to one of the stories that I was sharing about the little boy who came in, I think one of the ideas and strategies that has come out of working in those situations so many times in my own, teaching at the university with teachers and working in small groups with teachers is really like exploring what happens to you when you see a child's face like that, and what you have to do for yourself to calm yourself before you can calm that child. And, not to get caught up in too much digging into the ghost in your nursery, but, sometimes we see a face and it conjures up something in us, and that what we're reacting to is not that child, but we're reacting to a feeling that child provokes in us. And I think that's where having time to talk to other colleagues and reflect and really think about, why did I respond that way? How can I respond differently? Because that teacher I shared that story about, she had soft eyes, and when I see her working and I listen to her talk, she's she's got that, but we don't all, and we don't all have them for different reasons, you know? And it's something that is, it's a skill in a way for some people to really work on. So one activity I do sometimes in class is just hold up a picture of a child's face, you know, that looks angry, and say, so what would you say to this little one? And inevitably there's somebody who says, well, I would say, don't look at me like that, you know, or you know, and it's like, well, how do you think that, you know, how do you think that feels? And so really building, I think, more reflection into our practice is, as educators, is something that I'm really interested in exploring with folks.
And gentleness with ourselves. When even when you get into this, and you'll look back and you'll wish that you had done something different, and you know, it's like when it's beginning to have those soft eyes for ourselves.
Definitely.
This is not about being perfect or about blame, or
right.
It's about how can we take this science and begin to, you know, think about it in our everyday world, recognizing not just what will help the others, but then in turn what helps us feel,
yeah, for sure,
more centered and happier and calmer ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Well, our hearts are with you, and every day, and you know, and I'm so happy that we have this partnership. I learned so much from you every single time we connect. So thank you again for today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.